Hello, and welcome back to Humanity First. Today, I wanted to talk about the recent Davos Summit, the World Economic Forum. It's a big get together of mainly business leaders to discuss like the economy, overall global economic trends that happens annually in Davos, Switzerland. And I wanted to talk about this summit in particular because there were some figures that are prominent in the field of artificial intelligence that are leading some of these frontier companies that were there and that gave a series of interviews. So I wanted to essentially present the takeaways that from what they discussed and just overall impression. So first, strangely, Sam Altman was not there. That I know of. So he wasn't there, but there were three tech leaders that were there. Elon Musk, Demis Usabis, the leader of Google DeepMind, and Dario Amodei from Anthropic. And Demis and Dario were really the stars of the conference, I would say. Both have had really good years in this race to build better and better artificial intelligence. Both can kind of be considered winners over the course of last year. Google, they succeeded in closing the gap with OpenAI. So at the start of 2025, they were very much behind. OpenAI had gotten the jump on Google and had maintained a lead in terms of the quality of their model of ChatGPT over Gemini. But Google had the big Gemini 3 release, and they effectively were able to catch up. And OpenAI is scrambling to jump ahead again, to leapfrog Google again, because naturally Google is the bigger company that has a lot more access to compute, that has a lot more access to internal company data. They own browsing, they own YouTube, and they own so many of the core platforms on the internet. They have a natural advantage. So now the one advantage that OpenAI had, which is better models, it seems like Google was able to match as well. So people are thinking that that if OpenAI isn't able to quickly innovate, that Google might take the lead in the race. And Anthropic, they were extremely successful at carving out a niche for themselves. They really focused on models specifically for programming, which was a very wise decision for them because it allows them to sort of improve without directly competing with a company like Google, unlike OpenAI, for example. And so, firstly, Anthropic has really powerful coding models. Claude Opus 4.5 is specifically their best coding model, and it's probably right now the best coding model by a significant margin, actually, that has been released from one of these frontier companies, in my opinion, and in the opinion of most software developers. And then on top of that, they also have really good scaffolding for their already good coding model in the form of Claude Code, which is at the moment kind of blowing all the competition out of the water at powering Anthropic's models to complete long horizon programming tasks. So they're very profitable. They were strategic with how they placed themselves, and Claude was able to get pretty wide adoption from different industries to adopt their tools for automated programming. essentially. So both have had really successful years, and both were there and received a lot of attention during this summit. They both did a bunch of individual interviews, and interestingly, they also did an interview together where they shared the stage. And I wanted to share some of my reactions to this. And I have to say that overall, my reaction to hearing them talk um, was was very negative. They both were obviously there to promote their companies. Dario, to do him credit, he did bring up risk from developing this technology. So did Demis sometimes. But they completely steered clear of existential risk. The only real time that I saw, at least, where this issue was even mentioned was in one interview when Dario was questioned directly about this, about existential risk, and the risk. It was so bad because the journalist, he was hesitating to even say the word extinction. He was asking Dario about whether, like, how the different companies are mitigating some of the risks, even the risk of something as extreme as extinction. And then he says it like very quickly, like he is afraid of even summoning that energy into the room of talking about like human extinction from this technology. So they didn't mention it at all. If they talked about risk, it was exclusively about the risk of people losing their jobs or the risk of China winning the race. They seem to be they seem to be pretty confident that the second possibility, that China would win the race, was not likely. So they seemed confident that American companies are firmly ahead of Chinese companies, which seems to be true. Well, we haven't seen a lot of the Chinese companies. They are planning on releasing a new generation of models, so we'll see how good those are. But at the moment, it does seem like American companies do have a sizable lead over Chinese companies. So that is true. And they mentioned the risk of everyone losing their jobs as a serious risk, but manageable. But they always made that cliche like appeal to policymakers to please start thinking about this issue, and this technology can have a dramatic impact on the world. And what are we going to do about the issue of meaning? But not one of them talked about what I think is the most obvious risk from having, which is something that they acknowledge, that they're building machines that are going to match or exceed human capabilities in all domains, that will be able to accomplish all mental tasks that humans can accomplish, at least match human level on all cognitive tasks. And they're certain that this will happen, and they disagree slightly about the timeline. Amade says 2 years, 1 to 2 years, which is unbelievable. And then Demis says, oh, by 2030. He's the conservative who thinks that this is still, we have a few years left. And so they think there's this imminent, we're on the precipice of developing this technology that will match humans on all, that will match the human ability to perform all cognitive tasks. and they never mention the obvious risk to human existence from having agents, synthetic agents that are loose in the world, that are that powerful. And my impression listening to it was one of some degree of frustration, because the journalists that were there, not one of them brought up this issue at all. And even when they did, the one journalist that used the word extinction immediately walked back his question. And then Dario gave the cliche answer that, oh, we at Anthropic, we're responsible because we run some extra tests and we had a breakthrough in interpretability, which is okay, but you're not really engaging with the question. You're not really speaking to, like, this is a purely like a PR pitch. And you're comparing yourself to other companies. Like, what you should be doing is comparing what your level of testing and your level of safety against the seriousness of the problem. It's a cop-out to compare yourself to other companies that are doing minimal safety testing. So I guess you're better than them, but that's cold comfort if you still end up annihilating humanity. So there was really no discussion of that. And it raises the question and it's just all the responses about where this technology was leading the world that would come after developing this technology seemed so cliche and unreal and almost like childish, in my opinion. Like, Demis is a great scientist and he has done a lot of good for humanity, but his vision for post AGI, for the future after developing these machines, is discovering the mysteries of the universe and interstellar travel. Which, I don't know, there's like an airiness to that. There's like a lack of seriousness and understanding what it means to have artificial minds in the world that are vastly more capable in all domains than human beings, and that have an ability to self-improve, to share a world with these titans like that. Like, this is extremely, like, there's no real engagement with that. There's almost like this childlike vision that in the future everyone will be happy and we'll all be living in a post-scarcity abundance world, and we'll go on interstellar travel and there will be no death and no cancer. And it's like, I agree that this is a possibility of developing something that powerful, but clearly another possibility is that you fail to align them correctly, and and uh, and they begin to transform the world in some fundamental ways that are detrimental to humans, and then we're completely powerless. And there's just no engagement with that. And one can ask, is this something that Demis and Dario, is this something that they know? Like, do they know about the risk? Do they legitimately just think that the risk is super low and isn't worth like talking about? Or do they know the risk and they're concealing that because I guess they don't want to spook people because it would be bad PR for their companies? And I'm almost certain that it's the latter. And and I know that for a fact because of when Dario and Demis are on stage, when they share the stage and they're talking with each other about how they're beginning to collaborate and monitor the development of their models. And they were specifically talking, interestingly, about the danger of self-improving AI, because apparently it seems Dario is worried about this. And we'll have a future video we'll talk about possibly the reason why he's worried, because some things have come out about that with some recent products that Claude developed, that they were mostly developed by the models themselves, which is crazy, and rolled out with blazing speed. So he seems to be very worried about this. And you can kind of tell in that moment, like, how they were talking. I felt like I knew that they both understood the danger of this, and that's exactly why they would need to collaborate with each other. Like Demis in some other interview, he was saying that his vision was that at a certain point that that all the companies would kind of come together in one big like CERN, one big international project with a bunch of ethicists and philosophers and whatever, engineers and all the best minds, and we're all going to proceed to that critical threshold point of AGI very slowly. And why is it that Demis wants this wants the development of this technology to play out this way? Why is it that Dario and Demis were talking about collaborating as they get closer and closer to AGI, about trading, especially information surrounding safety and interpretability and alignment? Why? Because they both recognize the danger. They both know that this can very easily lead to human extinction, just like it can lead to international or interstellar travel. It can extremely easily lead to human extinction, and both of them recognize that, but they won't say it. They're hiding it. They won't say the words. And in a real way, shame on the journalists who are interviewing them. I understand, of course, that this summit is geared towards businesses. So it's a lot of business leaders, and a lot of it is finance people. But, you won't have finance if you don't have human beings. Someone should have brought this up. Someone should have said the word extinction without like immediately walking it back and retreating and pronouncing it almost as if it's a dirty word. Someone should have been brave and brought this up, but no one did. Everyone just walked along with the hype. So really shame on them. They should have brought this issue up. At least it's worth a conversation. You're developing superhuman machines, and you don't even mention the possible negative side effects to humans, to human existence, from having super intelligent agents running about in the world. And also, even though I respect them in a lot of other ways, shame on Dario and shame on Demis as well. I understand that you're running a company and you have employees, but at the end of the day, people should know the danger. You should be honest. I had hoped that Dario would say something along the lines of, we're trying our best. We're developing these models. They're developing very quickly. They're becoming powerful. And these scaling laws don't seem to be slowing down at all. And the future that they lead to is superhuman agents. And just so everyone understands, this comes with huge risks for humanity. If we fail to align these models, if we fail to control them, then we'd have uncontrolled superintelligences that are essentially running the planet at that point. And the risks are enormous and can very easily lead to human extinction. But we're trying our best, and we ask the world to help join us. But we think that it's worth pushing this technology anyways, because we feel like it will get pushed regardless by other nations if we don't push it first. And because we see tremendous benefits if we can get this right. If they had said that, like, if they had been honest in this way, if they had said that, I understand why they're not saying that, but I was hoping that one of them, at least Dario, would have been honest and said that. Because that is what he thinks. And that is what Demis thinks as well. But they're blinded. They're blinded by the moment. And they're blinded by short-term incentives. And not all bad. Some could be altruistic. Maybe they think, or some could be strategic. Yeah, like maybe Dario is thinking that if I talk this honestly, all that will happen is that people will just associate Anthropic with existential risk, and then I'll lose out in the race, and then all it will do is it will just allow the more reckless companies to move forward. Possibly he's thinking that, because every time he would bring up a study that showed like blackmail, or that showed misalignment on that Anthropic published, that their safety team published, he would immediately like jump in and say like, oh, all other companies also have the same thing, we're just testing. So he's clearly worried about that, but still, you should have been honest with people. People have a right to know. People have a right to know the danger of this technology. And because you're not honest, you're complicit in what comes. Yes, you're better than others, but still you're responsible, because you could have been honest. And if you had been honest, the chances that humanity would have, and because you're not honest, the disasters that will inevitably come to pass, in my opinion, are partially because of you. So yeah, I was very disheartened by the whole thing, but I want to kind of leave on a positive message. And I think this is the flip side of the coin. These CEOs, they don't talk about the existential risk of this technology. And I think the reason that they don't talk about it is because it's a powerful message. Because it has public appeal. Because if they say existential risk. If they say extinction, if they say kill everybody, kills everyone, then people will pay attention. Already the public mood is skeptical of this technology. And it's natural. Humans are recognizing the danger to them by having like these artificial minds that are being grown in ways that they do not understand, that are hard to control. But naturally, there's a human tendency to be suspicious of this technology, of being suspicious of an agent that you can't really understand, that is non-human. There is a potential there, a message there that is inherently attractive. And because of that, they know that if any of them said the word extinction, that immediately it would go everywhere. And there might be a public uproar about it. In a way, the fact that they're behaving this gingerly around this issue, the fact that they're being dishonest about this, is proof of the power of the message, of the latent power of the message that the growth of artificial intelligence is dangerous to humanity. So, yeah. But there are more aspects of the conversations that were had at Davos that we'll bring up in later conversations, but I just wanted to give my initial impressions. And finally, I wanted to end with an appeal to you. I think, unfortunately, there does not seem to be anyone who is running one of these companies who's taking this issue with the seriousness that it deserves. Because if they were, I don't think they would lie. I don't think that they would hide the danger that they see in this technology. And I think no one is coming to save us. Ultimately, it's up to you and to me as well to stop the development of this technology or pause it until, or at least slow it down until we can understand these models more, until we can figure out techniques to actually align them and make them good. It's only up to us. So please share this message with others around you in your circle, because we need to be ready for the possibility that those that are driving this technology will not do their part in ensuring, will not look after the interests of you and me and of humanity at large. So, all right. Sorry, this was kind of a more somber video. It's just I was listening to this, rewatching one of the interviews right before filming this, and so it put me in a somber mood. So, but yeah, I mean, it is extremely serious, but I hope this doesn't sour your mood today. But yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, and don't forget, winter's coming. Okay.